You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk, or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their health care. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your health care, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your health care while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
I keep swinging for this. It's like this heart is defenseless against a passion that's pumping through my veins. Blood, sweat, tears, it's a calling.
Hello, 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 America. This is Rick Robinson. We're about to be live right here on KLRNradio.com. You're about 60 seconds away from the beginning of the show. To have a guest with me this evening, Justin Kinney. You may have heard him on Jesse's POV from time to time. He's actually going to come on. We're going to spend the first little bit of the show getting to know him since he's new over here, and then we're going to get his take on the recent school shooting, some of the things that have come out from the Republicans in regards to gun control, etc., and maybe even some of the lib take. Also, I have a question for him because we have a show coming up on Friday that I wanted to get a take on, but we'll save that for the last little bit. So hang on, fasten your seatbelt, we've got a full show. We'll be starting here in about 60 seconds. Don't go away.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host. Favorite host.
You know this freedom is anything but free. What we have here depends on those who will fight for what they believe. When we stand together, there's nothing that we can't achieve. This nation of people standing as one in the name of liberty.
Hello, America. Welcome to the program. I am Rick Robinson. We're live right now on KLRNradio.com, where liberty and reason still reign. We do this thing every Tuesday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Get in the chat. Don't be afraid. It's all right. We don't bite. Also, if you cannot listen live on KLRN Radio, we are available on other outlets. You can listen to us on AMFM247.com every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. You can listen to us on the Lanterns Radio Network every Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern and various other times throughout their network. Also available on CRNDigitalTalk.com every Saturday and Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific. Also available on just about every podcast format known to man, so we're gonna just hit the high notes: iHeart, SoundCloud, Stitcher, FM Player, Google Play Music, iTunes, Blueberry, Pocket Cast, FM Player, and that's all I can remember for the moment, but I know there's about 10 or 11 others. Thanks to Station Manager, and if there is a podcast site available that you can't find us on, shoot me an email at rick@klrnradio.com and we will get added over there. Now, I do have a guest coming on with me here in just a little over a minute, not counting the commercial, and he'll be actually on with us first, talking a bit about himself. You may remember that he's been on KLRN Radio before. He's actually kind of a contributor over here. He goes over on Jess's POV all the time. Actually, he's been on a handful of times now. We're going to start trying to get him on over here as often as he'd like to come on and contribute. I have listened to the shows that he's been on over there, and I like it. I like what he does, so we're going to try to incorporate him more. But without further ado, we're about to get the first commercial break out of the way. Then when we come back, we'll have my guest, Justin Kinney, who'll be on with us for the hour. We're going to spend the first little bit getting to know him, and then we'll actually start getting some of his take on some of the things that have been, well, on everybody's mind with the media craze regarding this last shooting and everything else that's been going on around that. But this is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We'll be back in about 60 seconds. Don't go away.
You're out here acting so tough, and now I'm calling your bluff. Black hoods in no faces.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your health care? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org. All right, folks, welcome back. We are live right here on KLRNradio.com. Sorry about that. I kind of got distracted. But we are back. We are live. I do have a guest with me this evening, Mr. Justin Kinney. You may recognize the name from being on with Jess's POV. But without further ado, sir, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let folks know a little bit about you.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me on. I'm happy to be here. Excited to talk about a few things. Just, like I say, if you heard me on KLR on radio before, I've been on Jesse's POV. I am a PhD candidate right now in international relations and political science. I study mostly terrorism and other forms of political conflict, political violence. I teach at a university as well. I do a couple different undergrad classes. And I have some background in politics. I've spent some time in D.C., and I just enjoy talking about this sort of stuff.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I've heard your background before, but each time you give it, it just sounds that much more impressive. You've done all kinds of things. I'm kind of jealous. No, not really. All right. So we've talked a little bit about you, but, that actually kind of brings up one of the main things that I knew that you wanted to talk about today, which was the school shooting. So I have a bit of a different perspective when it comes to these shootings, because, first of all, I don't really think the media really cares that much about stopping things like this. Otherwise, they wouldn't treat the shooters so much like rock stars. Also, I tend to view them as terrorist attacks. As somebody that actually seems to specialize in that field, what's your point of view there?
You mean, are these mass shootings terrorist attacks?
In my opinion, they are. What about yours?
Well, it's tricky because in terms of like a political science perspective, terrorism actually has a pretty set definition. Now, there's some disagreement depending on if you talk it from a government perspective versus like a political scientist in the university system. But more or less, there has to be a specific type of motive involved. In other words, causing terror is not enough to call it terrorism. I know a lot of people talk about that. But it needs to have either political component, a religious component, like there's some sort of strategic goal to it. So I always hesitate to call things terrorism until we find out a little more detail about it. Now, that's, again, from an academic perspective. Obviously, these things are terrifying. But in terms of, like, is this something that I would study in the course of my research, it was ultimately going to depend on what the motive is.
No, that's actually one of the reasons that I wanted to ask, because I hear people, I mean, I actually produce several shows besides the ones that I am either host or co-host on, and that is one of the things that I hear thrown around a lot is a lot of the hosts on KLRN and other places, the KLRN radio, and other places that I've heard have actually, they tend to view these attacks as terrorism. So that's, since you actually have studied that, I just kind of wanted to get your take on it, because I guess from our perspective, it's a bit different because, I mean, from, just everyday parlance, if somebody's basically making you terrified, then that obviously would seem to correlate to an act of terrorism. But your statement is that it actually takes more than just causing fear. There has to be other components. So that's actually interesting because I hadn't really thought about that. So that might explain one thing, is because that's one of the things that's always kind of bugged me, is like, why don't they call these things what they are? Because it does, from our perspective, seem to be an act of terrorism. So at least understanding how the definition technically works for it to be considered terrorism from a studies perspective may help people understand why it's not really called terrorism, instead of just always being mad at the media. But I do stand by the fact that I really do think that if the media really cared so much about stopping things like this, they would stop talking about the people that were committing them 24/7 for weeks on end after they happen, because that's just giving other people that are kind of just watching that already had this same idea. They're like, oh, look at this, I could be famous even if it is only for a couple of weeks, and all I have to do is go shoot a place up.
Yeah, I mean, this relationship between news media and terrorist attacks is kind of a weird one, simply because they kind of feed off of each other in a sense. Terrorist attacks, they drive ratings. Mass shootings drive ratings. And when you have a situation where there's so many different news sources out there, and I don't just mean the mainstream media too, they're also competing obviously with social media and a lot of these kind of smaller outlets that have popped up. You fight for viewers, and people gravitate towards these sorts of, let's call them highly emotional stories. And terrorism is inherently dynamic. It's inherently, exciting is not the right word, but it draws in the viewer. And so media has a tendency to sensationalize some of this simply to draw in ratings and to draw these viewers away from other stations. And so unfortunately, it's a little bit of a cycle where I kind of understand why they do it, but at the same time, it certainly feeds right into what a lot of these groups, especially terrorist groups overseas, but also mass shooters, serial killers, all these other sensational people who want attention. It certainly feeds right into what they want.
Yeah, I do have to agree with that assessment. So I do have a question. We actually are starting to get folks from the chat. We have Jim who just asked a question. He's actually just wanting to, he just kind of bluntly asked it, but I've seen Jim in chat before, so he tends to be a bit blunt. So his question is Justin pro Second Amendment?
Yeah, so I absolutely am. I would argue that I'm pro all of the amendments, First Amendment, Second Amendment. I'm a big believer that the Second Amendment is what helps protect the First Amendment in a lot of ways. That said, I mean, I completely understand some of these concerns that have been in the media recently with, say, the shooting in Florida. I understand why people are concerned. There are problems with the way things are set up. There's problems with enforcement of laws that are already on the books. But yes, to answer the question, I am pro Second Amendment. I believe very strongly in the right of people to carry firearms, provided I believe strongly in training. I believe strongly in not in background checks, mental health checks, those type of things as well.
So let me just make sure everybody understands. So we're talking to a PhD candidate who teaches on college campuses, but is pro Second Amendment. That's not common anymore, sir. I'm just saying.
No, it's not, and it's unfortunate. It's one of those things that I'm made very aware of frequently that I'm kind of an outsider when it comes to some of this stuff. I'm on a college campus that recently passed a law allowing faculty to conceal carry a couple years ago, but also one where they took a poll of faculty and it was something like 87% disagreed with that. So it's certain. The university system is just a weird, almost surreal place that just you don't find in other areas. That it's very dominated by a particular ideology, and other ones, I don't say get silenced necessarily, but are certainly marginalized.
Oh yeah, I mean, even here we see that. Oklahoma happens to be probably one of the reddest states in the union. Actually, during Obama's tenure, all 77 counties went red each time. Under Trump, all 77 counties went red. And yet we still find ourselves on certain college campuses where conservative ideas are basically they're shouted down. There were kids that were basically kicked off campus because they had pro-Trump signs. One of the times that he actually came in to the town where OU is, and actually he was near campus, so they had a rally supporting him, and they were actually removed from campus because they had pro-Trump signs in Oklahoma. So yeah, I mean, the ideology of college campuses is well known, and it's also widespread. It even seems to be permeating here. I will not say that our college campuses are as liberal as other college campuses, but when you see a state like Oklahoma where the kids that are pro-Trump are like, yeah, you need to take that shirt off, or no, you can't have that sign here, that should tell you exactly how bad things have gotten even here. But on that note, we are up for a break. We're going to take a really quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Justin. I'm going to start getting his take on some of the things that have come out over the media for the last couple of days. And then again, I have a show that I'm doing next week with someone who's wanting to start trying to put together an actual outline on what we can do to change some of this stuff. So I want to get Justin's take on that as well. So we'll continue the conversation here in just a moment. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. Stay tuned.
Just don't know what you've been asking for. This means war.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
You bring your sticks, I'll bring gauges. Just don't know what you've been asking for.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. Again, we've been joined by Justin Kinney, regular contributor here on KLRnradio.com. You may recognize the name from Jesse's POV. He's done several appearances over there. We've been talking a bit about Second Amendment and his take on it, the actual academic definition of terrorism, since that's one of the fields of study that he actually mentioned earlier in the show. And at this point, we're going to start changing into more topics of the day. So I want to get your take on something, because one of the things that I've seen the president now talk about multiple times is now the idea of possibly banning what are called bump stocks, which for those of you who don't know what that is, that's basically something that you can put on the end of an AR-15 that makes the kinetic energy of the rifle actually allow the rifle to be fired more than once, but it still doesn't make the weapon fully automatic, which is something that seems to be a misnomer, because what happens is your finger still has to be on the trigger. It just no longer has to make the pulling motion because the rifle does that part for him. I just want to get your take on that real quick, because I have my opinion on it, but I'd like to hear yours first.
Sure. Yeah, so I will preface this by saying I'm not super familiar with bump stocks. I've never used one. I've never dealt with that. But I've kind of had a crash course over the last year or so as they started to be used. It was used in Vegas, obviously, at that attack. And Trump came out and said he was, suggesting regulation to ban them. I think I hesitate to just pass legislation, willy-nilly. I would need to have some sort of study or something that shows this would actually be useful in preventing this. That said, I personally don't have much of a problem with it. I think the issue, though, is going to be that it's just going to be so hard to regulate. Bump stocks are something that would be very easy to, I shouldn't say easy, be relatively easy to manufacture on your own, especially as things like 3D printers become more pervasive. I personally, though, don't necessarily have a huge problem with them choosing to ban something, as long as they can provide some sort of evidence that it's going to help prevent this, which I think most gun control measures that people have been suggesting are not going to be useful. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And honestly, my thing with bump stocks is I actually know what they were invented for. They're actually a disabilities device. They're actually...
Oh, really? See, I didn't know that.
They're designed to help people with disabilities be able to take advantage of shooting and shooting sports. So that's one of the reasons when they start talking about a full-on ban, I'm like, that honestly, in my opinion, should violate the ADA, because you're actually taking the ability of some people to be able to enjoy one of their God-given rights away by banning this item. But what I do think, and this is something that I said even before the Vegas shooting that brought the bump stocks back to the forefront, because as Jim pointed out in the chat, bump stocks make your weapon more of a spray and pray kind of thing. You lose a lot of accuracy.
Right.
They sound really, really cool. I mean, because I've shot one before. So, I mean, it sounds really, really cool when you're sitting there and all of a sudden it's like pop, 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 pop. So, I mean, it sounds great, but you're lucky if you can hit what you're aiming at, which is another reason why I have my own take on the Vegas thing, but we won't get into that today. But at the same time, I don't think they should be banned, so to speak, but I really do think that they should be regulated to the point where you have to have some sort of documented proof that you are required to have one so that they can't just be sold on the open market. I think
that makes perfect sense, yeah.
Kind of like we do with the handicap stickers and things like that. You actually have to have a valid reason to be able to get one of those. I think you should have to have a valid reason to get a bump stock, and I think that, even though I'm not a big fan of gun registries, things like that, because I'm really not, I think that is something that probably should be registered to a specific owner. So if it winds up going to somebody else and they wind up using it, we can track it back to where it should have been, go talk to them and say, why does this person have your bump stock? This was assigned specifically to you and it was for your use because you were found to be disabled enough to need one. So how did they wind up with it and why did this happen? Those are the things that I think we need to start looking at. And again, I don't want to start giving out too many of my opinions because you're the guest. So we're going to change topics again. Well, not really topics, but frame of topic when we come back because we've hit the bottom of the hour. And I'm going to ask you some specific questions about what you think about not necessarily weapons bans in general, but what you think we might be able to do to curtail some of these mass shootings. And then I have another very specific question I want to make sure we get to as well. But we are at the bottom of the hour, so we're going to have to take another really quick break. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned.
You're out here acting so tough, and now I'm calling your bluff.
Everyone loves liberty, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
You're out here acting so tough, and now I'm calling your bluff. Black hoods and no faces. We'll take it out to the streets.
All right, welcome back, folks. This is America Off the Rails. We're already halfway through the show. My, oh my, where does the time go? All right, so to give credit where credit is due, because one of the things that I will say that I've liked is the fact that President Trump seems to be bringing everybody to the table and at least starting to talk about things that we may be able to do to stop things like this recent school shooting and the ones that have happened in the past. So I was really pleased to see him do the event. I believe it was yesterday, where he had folks from this recent incident and several others in the White House actually talking about things. But while I was pleased with that, one of the things that honestly kind of concerned me a bit was, while that was going on, we had Marco Rubio at a CNN town hall style event talking about maybe raising the age for folks to get rifles from the age of 18. Now, I have an opinion on that, and I've given it before, but since you're the guest, I again want to kind of start out with yours.
Sure. My opinion on this is mostly that I have some issues with the way that we define legal adults in this country. We have a tendency to stagger things. You know, a person is mature enough to vote at 18, but not mature enough. Now they're saying to carry a gun until 21, and I would like to see some sort of standard of this is when you're mature enough to engage in society in a way that's beneficial. Now, I personally have some issues with the 21 limit simply because we already trust people younger than that to join the military and carry these weapons into much more high stress situations and essentially defend the country. And I think if you're trusting them to do that at the age of 18, I think you have to trust them, to carry a weapon in other scenarios as well. If they want to raise the limit or the age limit on the military to 21, then maybe that's a different conversation. But I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to raise it to 21 when we already hand 18-year-olds weapons to fight in wars. And if you're old enough to fight and die for your country, I think you have a tough argument to make to say that we should raise that limit to 21 here in the country.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is a lot like yours. We have this piecemeal idea where, you're responsible enough to drive at 16, you're responsible enough to vote at 18, you can sign contracts at 18, you can join the military at 18, but you can't carry a pistol, but you can carry a rifle. You can't
you can't even rent a car until you're 25. So.
Well, so here's my thought, and I know we have a retired Marine in the chat, so I'm probably going to catch heck for this. But knowing what we know now about the human brain and the fact that there's a specific part of the human brain that allows people to understand consequences of their actions that typically doesn't form or fully form or start becoming fully functional until sometime usually between the age of 25 and 26, I honestly think we should raise all of it past that point where we know at that point that if you're signing a contract or you're joining the military, you are fully aware of what it is that you are signing, what you're signing and what you're doing. And if you're taking classes to carry a gun, you're fully aware of the consequences that may happen there. Also, I don't really think that anybody should be legally allowed to sign a contract until we understand that they do understand the consequences, because that's one of the things that you get taught at a very young age is make sure that you don't sign anything that you don't understand. Now that we know that there's a part of the brain that doesn't allow people to even see consequences until usually sometime between about the age of 25 and 26, is it really a good idea to allow them to join the military or sign contracts? And that's my take on it, is now that we understand a lot more about the human brain than we did when we started setting these type of limits, and especially since now we have children that can stay on our health insurance till they're 26. I'm sorry. I think, honestly, we should probably start looking at increasing the age of how long people stay children, especially since we have an entire group of people right now between the ages of 18 and 23 that are eating Tide Pods for fun. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, we were saying we were having to tell children not to eat Tide Pods, and now we're trusting them with town hall meetings and trusting their opinions on all kinds of things. It seems very hypocritical to me.
Yeah, I mean, and Jim has a pretty good point, because he actually mentioned that one of the reasons that it's not such an issue for 18-year-olds to join the military is because boot camp actually probably changes them in a lot of ways. Having gone through a similar program once upon a time, I do kind of agree with that assessment. But at the same time, the main reason I bring this up is because, again, we have all this different piecemeal stuff, and knowing what we know about the brain, we need to make a choice. Is it going to be across the board, this is when we know you're an adult, and this is when you should be able to make decisions, including carrying firearms, etc.? Or are we going to keep saying, well, because this makes us feel better, we're going to raise this age to 21 too, so you can't carry a rifle until you're 21? So what does that do with the folks that have had military training that are still below the age of 21? We're going to trust them to go off to another continent and fight wars on our behalf, but we're not going to trust them to be able to defend their own homes? That makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough argument. I get the idea that boot camp certainly can change people, and there's obviously an argument to be made that it's a lot easier to build a coherent, cohesive military unit when they are a little bit younger, because once you kind of get set into your ways, 25, 26, it's really hard for you to kind of break that identity back down. And one of the points of boot camp is to break your identity down so that they can build it back up into a mold that is useful in a high stress scenario. So there's certainly an argument to be made for that. And I think this is an argument that could be debated back and forth a lot. But I really do have some problems with this kind of staggered adulthood that we seem to be pushing. As you mentioned, there's several different ages for things. And I would not be opposed to at least a conversation about raising some of these limits now that we know some of the psychological research on brain development. There's some things they say, I've heard even as up to the age of 30 that your brain isn't 100% developed until that point. And it's a very tricky spectrum where you have to determine, are they mature enough to sign contracts to do these things? And that's such a hard thing to know. It's almost an individual by individual basis too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually part of it because, we can say that we know that on average, the part of the brain that allows people to start understanding consequences doesn't usually kick in until sometime around age 25. But everybody matures at different levels. So, there are certain people that, for them, it may be 30, 31 before that part fully forms. For other people, it may actually start earlier. And I'm not saying that my opinion is the only one that matters. I'm just saying if we're going to keep having this conversation where we're going to keep things piecemeal, then we need to actually find a finish line. Because honestly, I think that's part of what's so confusing to our youth is, you're old enough to vote and you're legally considered an adult at age 18, but you're still on mommy and daddy's insurance. You can't buy a pistol because you're not 21. You can't drink because you're not 21, but you can smoke if you want. Now, you'll be decried and shouted down and made to feel like a moron because you picked up a pack of cigarettes, but by all means, you can do that. I think, again, that's part of the problem. And I also think that there are ways, because, I'd actually thought about the whole, 18 to 21 is the perfect time to really join the military because they do actually intend on breaking you down and putting you back together by the end of that boot camp program. And I understand that, again, once that part of your brain is fully formed, it's really kind of hard to get yourself reconditioned. I understand that more than most because I have a job that requires change almost every other day, and anytime anything changes, it drives me absolutely crazy now. I used to be able to roll with it like it was nothing. Now I'm like, there's no reason we should be doing things this way, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not the boss, so I don't get to make that decision.
Yeah, and there's certainly an argument to be made that we've kind of been pushing this delayed adulthood thing a bit far. If you go back centuries, people were getting married at much younger ages than they are now, and we can have that argument as whether that was right or wrong, but we do seem to have an issue where people are taking longer and longer to mature. I think that's probably a whole different argument that could be made too, where somebody who enters the workforce at the age of 18 straight out of high school may mature a lot faster than somebody who goes through college, still on parents' health insurance, still parents are paying their way, they're not working, they're just taking classes. I think there's a lot of different factors that go into that. It's a discussion that needs to be had though, about what ages are we really comfortable with allowing people to fight and die for their country, to carry a weapon. And I think there are some very troubling and hypocritical arguments there being made for these different ages. I do like the idea though that maybe if we did raise it to say 21 for these weapons, to have some sort of a caveat built in for people who have military training experience and people of that kind of ilk.
You said ilk. Jim's probably going to get you for that one. All right, anyway, we are coming
I like the word ilk.
Yeah, I know, but it's usually negative connotations for most people that don't actually understand the definition. All right, so anyway, we are up against a break. We're going to come back. When we come back, we're going to change topics a bit, and because of a show that I have coming up on next Friday, I want to get Justin's opinion on the main topic, and we'll actually bring that up as soon as we come back. But this is America Off the Rails. Believe it or not, we're down to about 15 minutes of showtime. I'm not sure where the time went, but we'll be back. Stay tuned.
You're out here acting so tough, and now I'm calling your bluff. Black hoods and no faces. We'll take it out to the streets.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Just don't know what you've been asking for.
All right, folks, welcome back. So if you missed last night's episode, I spent all of last night's episode talking about a lot of things that the media wasn't talking about and the politicians aren't talking about when it comes to the recent violence in Florida and elsewhere. And what I basically tackled was the human component of it, and the fact that nobody's really talking about that. They're more concerned about the guns. So I had a friend who listens to the show on a regular basis who actually tuned in for that one, and he came up with an idea for a show topic that he's actually going to be on next Friday. He actually wants to start putting together something that maybe if we can find a way to get it there, we can get it to DC and kind of show them that common folks are actually starting to try to work on this too without necessarily screaming, ban all the things. So one of the things that he had brought up that we're going to be focusing on next Friday during this show is the fact that, even if you ban all of the guns and you make them instantly illegal, that there's already a black market for weapons. So how exactly are we going to be able to curtail the illegal purchase of guns if we do suddenly overnight decide to ban all of the things, or even specifically say the AR-15, which is the most recent hobgoblin of these particular scenarios? Sadly, because of some of the training that I do have to tell you that if the shooter was better prepared, he would have gone in with 2 or 3 9mm, because in close quarters with a few extra magazines, he could have done a lot more damage with 3 pistols than he could have done with an AR-15. So let's at least be glad that his mind doesn't necessarily work the way mine does. But that being said, I'd like to get your take on that specifically, because I'm going to be asking the next few guests that come on for the next few shows so that we can kind of incorporate some of your thoughts with others that we're hoping to get through Twitter and email, so we can actually start trying to tackle some of this. And that seems to be the one thing nobody's really talking about is, even if you ban them all, we still have a huge black market for guns all over the world. So how exactly are we going to stop people from getting them just because we've suddenly made them illegal? I mean, we've seen how well that's worked for drugs, just saying.
Yeah, I think this is something that's incredibly difficult, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to have all the answers on it. I do think there's a couple of things you could do, things like raising the punishments, having stricter punishments if you're caught running guns. But when you look at examples like Chicago, New York, some of these big cities that have really strict gun laws, but they have mass amounts of gun crime. It's not because people are picking up guns there. It's people are bringing them in from elsewhere. And the same problem goes when you expand out to the country, because the U.S. has this huge problem with black market guns that already exist. All these channels already exist. All these kind of gun runners and pathways to bring guns in the country already exist, and you can't shut them down very easily. So I think you start with things like raising the punishment, you're trying to disincentivize people who are bringing them in. If you can make it so that it's not worth it to them, I think that's a good place to start. I think you got to start cracking down a little bit more on laws that already exist. So many of these guns that come in, and so many of these people that run guns are already known. They just aren't enforced as much, and some of these problems with people coming across the border loaded for bear, essentially, because there's such a market here to sell them. I think you got to find a way to stop that, or at least stem the flow a little bit. Again, like I said, I don't have all the answers on that. I think it's a very difficult thing when you're in such a scenario as this, where these channels already exist. It'd be different if we were starting the country from scratch, and maybe you could do something at the beginning before the channels are built. But at this point, you have to almost incentivize them to do something else.
Yeah, I mean, and just to throw my 2 cents in on it, because I agree with everything you've just said, 2 of the things that I think would honestly help in some regard, and this is, again, where some people start kind of yelling about what I'm saying. I think the physical barrier proposed by the president at our southern border could actually help to a point, because a lot of that stuff does come in through the southern border, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. We should also probably stop electing politicians that actively participate in gun running programs, a la Fast and Furious. That would be a great start as well, because that was bad. That was terrible. And I understand that program didn't necessarily start under Obama, but they seem to take a lot more advantage of it than the previous administration did. In a lot of ways, it blew up in their faces. So, I mean, I think there are all kinds of things that we can do, but a lot of it does have to do with us actually starting to enforce laws that are already on the books that we're not enforcing. And also, like you said, increasing the punishment for basically black market arms sales. There are ways that we could at least curtail it a bit, but the problem is nobody seems to want to do it. And that's honestly what concerns me, because, to go back to something that I said about a week ago, if the Democrats were this concerned about gun control and the dangerous AR-15, why didn't they do anything about it for the 2 years they had full control of the White House and a filibuster-proof majority in the House and the Senate?
I think that's a great question. Politicians in general are so focused on what's going to get them elected in the next moment, they don't really focus on some of these big issues. As you said, the Democrats had control. They could have done something, and they didn't for a couple of years. And obviously they've had more control in the past too.
Yeah, and I mean, but that's the thing. They spent all this political capital ramming this thing down our throats that they like to call the Affordable Care Act, that I call the Abominable Care Act, that luckily, at least if they haven't been able to kill it outright, this administration seems to be killing it through the death of 1,000 cuts, which is perfectly fine with me as long as it dies one way or the other. But they took all of this time and all this capital to move us towards what could only be viewed as the framework to move us towards socialized medicine. But then they want to sit here anytime that a shooting like this happens and blame the guns and blame the NRA. I think is one of the things that drives me the most crazy. Blaming a group of people that basically come together because they have like-minded ideals and they actually contribute money to an organization that helps propagate those ideas is absolutely asinine to me. The NRA doesn't do anything to promote violence. They promote gun safety, for God's sake. That's why they exist. That's pretty much their whole reason for existing, is to basically provide, people with ready access to things that they can do to make their lives safer when they're around guns. But I think one of the things that we really need to change at a fundamental level is this whole group of people that are completely afraid of weapons because they don't spend any time around them. That's one of the things that I think is the most interesting when you look at times now the way things are now based on where they were about 100 years ago. When guns were everywhere, everybody had them, everybody used them, everybody understood them, and we were much safer because everybody knew, hey, this thing is dangerous. If you touch it the wrong way, you could end somebody's life. And I think that's something else that we need to start doing, is making sure people understand that just because you're afraid of something doesn't mean that it's not a useful tool for one reason or another.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. The fear that some people have of things is not even just guns, but just in general, is so often related to just not being familiar with it. And a lot of the NRA's purpose is to make people familiar. I think I have a problem with blaming inanimate objects and some of these, just blaming a lobbying group for murder. You hear them being called child murderers, and that doesn't do anyone any good. Nobody's going to be convinced because you called them a murderer. And as you said, a big part of the NRA is simply about training. It's about making sure people are familiar and making sure they know how to handle these weapons. I think we need to, as a society, kind of take a big step back, big deep breath, and start to approach these ideas with a little more civility and respect and understanding.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, we're up against the final break of the show. When we come back, we'll have just about enough time to say goodnight to Justin and myself. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robbins.
You're out here acting so tough, and now I'm calling your bluff. Black hoods and no faces.
My son was in the Army during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Separate each individual issue.
All right, folks, welcome back. Well, believe it or not, we are just about out of time, so I want to give my guest a moment just to give out his social media contacts for those of you that may want to keep up with him when he's not contributing here on KLRN Radio, which we hope to get him on more often and soon. But why don't you remind folks where it is that they can connect with you should they wish to, since we are just about out of time.
Absolutely. I have really two avenues that would be great to connect with. The first one is Twitter. I have a handle there. It's Justin R_Kinney. That's Kinney. You can find me there. I frequently tweet about politics, other things as well. I try to keep it pretty varied. A little bit snarky too at times, I'll admit. Also, you can find me on Facebook. I haven't mentioned on this show, but if you followed me on Jesse's POV, you know I write fiction novels as well. So I have an author page on Facebook. You can find me, and the name there is J. Robert Kinney.
All right, so yeah, folks, follow along. Actually, it's been my pleasure having him on tonight, so hopefully we can make that happen again here pretty quick. But we are officially out of time. I am Rick Robinson. If you like what you hear, make sure you follow along with the station at KLRNradio.com. You can also follow along with me at Radio Host Rick. Or if you're old school, shoot me an email, rick@KLRNradio.com. But on that note, we've got to make room for the next show coming up, folks. This is America Off the Rails. We'll be with you tomorrow night for the Friday edition. And, of course, I'll be back with you here in a couple hours for the Jen and Rick Show, which is live every Tuesday and Thursday. Don't go away. Lots more radio coming up next.
It's running deeper than the ocean. This ain't religion, it's devotion. 3, 6, 5, every minute, every day.